Hello dear students, welcome to online classes. The chapter that we are going to take up today is A Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot from your textbook Footprints Without Feet. Now, as we had discussed earlier, James Herriot was too fond of dogs, and thus in this very story he writes about Tricky, a small dog, who is pampered and overfed by his rich mistress. Tricky falls seriously ill and his mistress consults a veterinary surgeon. Now we need to find out whether the veterinary surgeon performs an operation. Does the dog recover? But before reading the chapter, let's try to know who is Tricky's mistress. Tricky's rich mistress is Mrs. Humphrey. And who is the narrator of the chapter or the story? The narrator is Mr. Herriot, who is a veterinary surgeon. Now, Mr. Herriot begins. I was really worried about Tricky this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. He had become hugely fat, like a bloated sausage, with a leg at each corner. His eyes, bloodshot and rheumy, stared straight ahead, and his tongue lolled from his jaws. Now, the narrator, Mr. Herriot, starts telling us that how he was worried about Tricky, a pet dog. The narrator stops his car as he is shocked to see Tricky, who had fattened up and had bloated like a sausage. Sausage is a cylindrical shaped processed meat which is usually enjoyed a lot by the people. And Tricky had become so fat that his eyes were red and watery, and he gave an impression like he was not a dog but a full grown sausage with 4 limbs that had come out of it. So children, you can see how fat Tricky had grown, and this is the exact way how Tricky looked when Mr. Herriot saw him in the street with his mistress, and he was shocked at Tricky's such a shocking appearance. You all can see how Tricky had grown. Tricky had grown like a sausage. You can see a sausage clearly over here, and was much more fattened like this cylindrical shaped meat. So, as Mrs. Pumphrey, Tricky's mistress, saw that Mr. Herriot was really shocked by looking at Tricky, Mrs. Pumphrey hastened, like very quickly, hastened to explain. He was so listless, Mr. Herriot. He seemed to have no energy. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition. So I have been giving him some little extra between meals to build him up. Some malt and cod liver oil and a bowl of Horlicks at night to make him sleep. Nothing much, really. And did you cut down on the sweet things, as I told you? Oh, I did for a bit. But he seemed to be so weak, I had to relent. He does love cream cakes and chocolates. so I can't bear to refuse him. Mrs. Pumphrey, Tricky's owner, started giving explanations. She told Mr. Harriet that she thought that Tricky was malnourished because he did not have any energy and excitement. She told him that she used to give him malt, cod liver oil, and a bowl of Horlicks at night, apart from his regular meals, so that he could sleep peacefully at night. Although she gave him so much to eat, she says that she doesn't give him much to eat. Then the narrator asks her if she had cut down on his sweets, as he had earlier asked her to do so. To this, Mrs. Pumphrey replied that she did for a while, but she felt that he was getting weaker, because of which she had to stop being so harsh with him. Also, she says that she is unable to refuse him cakes and chocolates, as those were his favorite things. The narrator understood Tricky's problem. The dog was very greedy and could eat at any time of the day. He did not know how to say no to food when his stomach was full. The narrator also thought to himself of all the things that Mrs. Pumphrey would not have mentioned, which she fed Tricky. Again, the narrator asked Mrs. Pumphrey whether Tricky was exercising or not. And Mrs. Pumphrey replied that she did take him out for walks once in a while, but if he was not playing, his rings were being thrown as an exercise by the gardener who took him out to play, and the gardener was not coming those days. Thus, Tricky was unable to do his exercise. So, children, in the beginning of the story, we can see that how Mrs. Pumphrey is in a habit of overfeeding her dog. She feels that Tricky is listless, that is, lacking energy, and is malnourished, that is, the dog is probably having lack of proper nutrition. So, she gives him lots and lots of food in between the meals, before the meals, after the meal, and that has all sweet, sugary, all the things that has made the dog grow unnaturally fat. And she would not take the dog for regular walk as well as exercise, as was suggested by Mr. Harriet. So, children, in the next part of the video, we will try to find out that what happened to Tricky after he grew unnaturally fat. What did Mr. Harriet do to help Tricky? And what was Mrs. Pumphrey's reaction? Thank you for now. Try to read the text and enjoy the beautiful story. Thank you.